Hello everybody, this is Trina. I am going to be working on another card idea that I have in my book. This one will be coming up soon, but right now I'm going to go ahead and do this one over here. These are the supplies that I think I'm going to be using. It could change as I go. We shall see. I've never done a card like this before, so this will be for the first time. So let's go ahead and get into it. This one here is the December stamp of the month. It's called Reindeer Crossing, from Close to My Heart. And so it will be available in November, or in December, I mean. So if you're watching this early, which I think I have them several cards planned using this. You can either use what you have on hand, or you can purchase this starting December 1st through Close to My Heart. If you spend $50 or more, you can get this for $5. So that's a pretty great deal, especially since I've used this a lot. Like, I've used it a lot, and I still have a lot more plans. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get started on this, and here we go. So I'm gonna get started on the stamping of the background, or the card base. This is a fairly easy concept. I think it is possible that I could have done it quicker. I don't know exactly how how I would have gone about doing it quicker, but I mean, if you guys have a solution to that, just let me know. I suppose measuring might have been a good start, but I am going to go ahead and use the Warm Wishes stamp set, or stamp from the Reindeer Crossing stamp set. I'm going to go ahead and use the Warm Wishes. Wow, that was backwards. And I'm just kind of placing it where I want it to be, and then I'm kind of closing the lid of my stamp positioner and making sure that the lines are straight, or like the word is straight in line with the lines that are on the lid, just to make sure that it's gonna stamp straight. My goodness. And then I'm just scooting it over for the most part. That's pretty much it. And I'm using the bottom of the stamp positioner tool as a guide. Now, I do forget that I have ink on my foam piece, which I have heard that if you put a piece of paper in there, it soaks up the ink instead of putting the ink onto the back of the card, because the foam, it just kind of carries the ink instead of soaks in the ink. So that is something to consider. So when I do this, you will see that I end up with, ink on the back of my card, which I'm not too worried about, but, it might bug some people. So I started with the dark green because I didn't really want to start with red. It just seemed like too obvious of a color to start with, and it would have really drawn your eyes up to the top of the card, and that's not where I wanted wanted the main focal point to be. So I decided to start with what color was it? Clover? Yes, it was Clover. I used Clover, Willow, and Candy Apple Red. And I do stamp them a couple of times a piece, most of the time. Not always, but most of the time. So what would have been a lot easier is just, I don't know what would have been a lot easier. I thought I did it, fairly decent, since I lined it up with the bottom of the card, or the bottom of the stamp positioner tool, and that made it stamp straight at least, which is good. But yeah, I don't make you watch the whole thing. I do the first couple of lines, and then I go ahead and do the last couple of lines. So it took me about, I would say, about a half of an hour to do all of this. So like, if you were to do it on a larger piece of paper, or for 12 by 12 or something like that, it would of course take a lot more time. Depends on the piece of paper that you're using, but if you were to make a background, that would definitely take quite a bit more time. So And you need a bigger stamp positioner tool. You can use a block for this. I just figured having a guide to line it up with would make it actually, have at least an even amount of space in between, and they wouldn't, the stamping wouldn't be crooked and all that kind of stuff. So I just figured with the background the way it is. Okay, well, obviously I'm not doing the last couple of lines. Well, we're done with the background. Anyways, I stamped them a little bit farther off, from the last time I stamped, and it just kind of goes at an angle, and it just kind of makes it all blend in together instead of being stacked. So I pulled out the sentiment I wanted to use with my warm wishes as, obviously the base of the card. And I'm going to emboss this in, I believe it's red tinsel is what it's called. Red tinsel embossing powder. And it is from Reindeer, but I got it through Close to My Heart, so I will have that in that link in the description box below if you're interested. But for the most part, it's a pretty simple, emboss it. I wasn't really happy with it. I don't know, I couldn't really read it. I don't know what it was. There was just something off. So I redid it. And I like how this one turned out better. And I also wanted to make sure that my piece of paper was big enough so that I could actually cut it out using the basic oval dies from Close to My Heart. Now I'm using the biggest oval die from Close to My Heart on this sentiment. Yeah, sentiment. So their dies, their little die sets don't actually get very large, or I was gonna say or very small, but my goodness, today I am tired. I think I sleep in on the weekends, and it just kind of throws off my hours at the beginning of the week, and then by the end of the week I'm like back up to normal, and then the weekend comes on and just like, but I can sleep, so I want to sleep. I don't know if you guys go through that or not, but it's rough. So yeah, now I'm gonna go ahead and cut this out. One of these days I'll get new cutting mats, but today is not that day. I am digging through my drawer trying to find some washi tape so that I could just kind of make sure it doesn't move, because I had it where I liked it. So reposition it, run it through, and we are done. And it is like the perfect size. So this is where it took most of the time. I took a lot of time to do the coloring on this. So, I mean, it didn't take as long as I thought it was going to be because of the real brush pens. Wait, yeah, I did use the real brush pens. But it's just, it's pretty much painting. So it's, I go ahead and do most of those off camera. Yay! So that didn't take very long, but yeah, I do color, I think, most of these. So what I decided to do was use the Candy Apple Red ink pad, and I just squished it into the well there and have that set and ready to go. And then I decided to use, what colors did I use? I used moss green and for the darker tone, and pea green for the lighter tone for these. So the inner branch I did in the darker tone, and then the leaves I did with a lighter tone, and then I did the berries in the candy apple. Now I totally could have added another color of red, but I didn't really feel the need to do that. So you'll just kind of see how this works. I did not add any water to these markers, to the pens, so they worked out pretty good. Just use them just like markers. And then I'm going to go in and use my paintbrush. I did add a spritz of water so that I could watercolor my berries. And I do not do all of this online, or on the video. I kind of, and then I do go back over it. Ooh, it's been a few days since I've, like over the weekend, since I did this card, so I have forgotten. I went back over the berries just to get like a dark shadow around the berries, and on each one of the berries, like each one of the sprigs, I tried to adjust where the shadows were. I don't know that it really helped per se, but I did anyways. So I'm touching up any white spaces that are showing, which as I go I get better at coloring. And I was going to do the liquid glass on the berries, but I didn't do that until the end, which probably would have been better if I had done it before then. But I didn't, of course. It was kind of an afterthought. I was thinking that I could probably get away with not having any of the liquid glass on there, but then I ended up just deciding that it really needed, just a pop of something. So I'm adding my foam tape. For those of you who are new, hi, welcome. That is 3D foam tape or 3M foam tape from Scotch brand. I get big old rolls of it and then I use it from there. So, and this is where I've decided, you know what, this is a really good spot that I could trim each of these in half, and then it will make them go twice as far. So I found a good spot that kind of blends in so it doesn't look like it, like there's something missing. And then I go ahead and spread those out. And then I'm like, okay, well, these are going to be a pain in the tush if I don't, I just pick it up and add the sprigs on there that way. And that way seems to work out pretty well for me, because then I can see where I'm putting it and how it's going to lay and all that goodness. And once I get 3/4 of the way around, I'm like, well, it all kind of, this side is kind of resembling the other side, so what do I do about that? And then I have extra, and shouldn't I just put the extra on there? So, I just gotta work through that stuff. So anything that is not like stuck down, I go ahead and trim off, and then I add my adhesive. Now I could have done a different, a stronger adhesive, but I don't know that it really needs it. I mean, it is technically just a card, and it did have some of the foam adhesive showing as well, so, or to adhere to. So I'm gonna go through each and every one of these berries and add some liquid glass onto them. Now this dries clear. It goes on clear and it dries clear. I mean, it does kind of have, when it goes on, it does kind of have a milky tone to it, but just a very, very light one, so you can kind of tell where it is. And of course it's reflective, so it does dry clear and it does dry very, very, very shiny, glossy. So that's one of the things that I love about this stuff, and the fact that it dries so quickly. So most things will be fully adhered like within 5 minutes, so that is something to consider when you choose to use it. Of course, the thicker it is, the longer it will take to dry. So, but yeah, it does add just a little bit more shine and sparkle, and then towards the end, I do kind of, I want to say a fight with myself on what I want for my bling. I could have used sequins, but I decided to go ahead and use the Holly Jolly enamel dots, I believe is what they are. Yeah, they're somewhere. They're hiding from me, of course. So yes, I did decide to use those. Again, everything that I use will be linked, everything that I use that is available will be linked in the description box below. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. I don't mind answering questions. And if you guys like to shop, again, I will have that link down below. So this is just where I struggled. I knew it needed something extra. I just didn't quite know what it was. And I don't know, I have bitty sparkles. That just seemed like it would be light enough to, not counter the liquid glass, the shininess of the liquid glass, but at the same time it would be, give it a little bit more oomph. And then I'm like, okay, well, I guess that's what I'm gonna go with. So, and of course then I changed my mind and add more of these. So yeah, that is pretty much. And after camera, I still struggle with it. I still change it up a little bit. It doesn't change up a whole lot, but yeah, it does change. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will see you